Our next presentation will take us into the world of grinding solutions. And I am delighted to welcome Konrad Coppens, I hope I pronounced it correctly, from Weiler Abrasives. Today he will introduce us to the specialized grinding solution for the finishing of springs, correct? Very good. Because these solutions are absolutely crucial for example, automotive industry, mechanical engineering in general, and other sectors that demand the highest level of precision. And Konrad, I'm super excited to see what he brought us today. The stage is yours.
Yeah. Just give me a help with the the pointer. So, thank you for coming over, and I have the honor to close. I'm the last, so after me, the door will be closed and the light go out. But I will give it a bit more energy and lightness because it was a tough week for everybody. It was an intensive week, and now we're going to talk about Weiler. During these 5 days, we heard a lot of, who's Weiler? Where are you coming from? Because we're new. We're the new kid on the block. Nobody knows us. And that's why we decided to go to just a small introduction of who we are, where we come from, and what are we doing. So we're coming basically out of the US. Weiler is a German name coming from Pforzheim, family from Pforzheim. 1800 came to New York, brush manufacturer, because in the Black Forest there's a lot of brush manufacturers, and he found this energy in the US and started to make brushes. That made us a brush manufacturer in the US, if all kind of wires, brushes, steel, name it, Nylox, whatever. And there was an evolution going to the flap discs, coated abrasives. Weiler was one of the first to introduce the production of flap discs within the US. And then finally, they wanted to grow up the business, and they bought a company, Svatikomed in Slovenia. And directly, they were the owner of bonded abrasives, cutting and grinding, and our well-known industrial grinding. So that's in a nutshell what we are standing for. Where are we? So the Cresco is the headquarters. It's like 1 hour from New York. There we still produce all our wire brushes. Go to Mexico, where we today are producing the flap discs. And in Brazil, we have a small production of cutting and grinding, and mainly our foundry, small products, manual, like the pins and the small grinding wheels. That's for the part of North-South America. Coming to the Europe, we have in Bindlach in Germany our a warehouse for the German market, which still is the biggest market from Europe. And Slovenia. In Slovenia, we have 3 plants. One, the headquarters is Maribor. It's in the north. It's the second city of the Slovenia. And there we produce all our technical wheels, from vitrified to resin to CBN, the super abrasives, all what's got to do with the industrial, we produce in Maribor. 30 kilometers south, we have this Zreče, and there we produce the cutting and the grinding discs in 10 million pieces a month. So that's an impressive number. Very high, automated, is high standing, is state of the art for our production. Loche, we produce technical textiles that we need for the our cutting discs and for the reinforcement of our cutting discs. So that's in a nutshell where we are, who we are. Our markets that we serve is mainly for cutting and grinding, transport, shipbuilding, construction. And if we go to the part of the industrial grinding, we have the foundry, which is the heavy metal industry, the steelwork, but we all go to the shortening, the aerospace, automotive, bearings. And one of that particular thing is spring grinding, which is a specialty of our company. Well, again, we've got the snagging wheels, the resinoid wheels for the rough grinding, like we call it, and we got the more vitrified wheels for the precision grinding. And springs is right in the middle. It's precision, but with resin bond. So we're not working in a garage, as you have seen in the former slides. We are a member of the FEPA, the Federation in Europe. We are the OSA for the security of our products. It's a half value, and of course, all ISO standards. SEAM, the sustainability. Yeah, we're in Slovenia. There's a lot of nature, the people who know Slovenia. So SEAM is for us extremely important. It's the future trend, but for us as a company, one of our core values. Yeah, OSA FIPA I explained. We're a member of the VDFE, which is the German Spring Manufacturers Association, and ANSIM, it's the Italian. So we are already pretty well known in the spring grinding. Let's go to the spring grinding. So one of the crucial part of the spring when you produce a spring is the end, the measurement and the surface. So that's why we grind. This is the crucial part. We need to maintain the tolerances, and that we do by grinding. It's a very complicated operation, takes time, so we're always under pressure to bring more performance in one way or another. Spring grinding, mainly, we have a table that is turning, for the people who don't know, and we have the spring that comes within the middle. And the number of passes that we do, we reduce the spring up to the required dimensions. Of course, we try to increase the production capacity, shortening the grinding circles, and improving the performance, mainly. So this is our portfolio. We will go into the deep after that. So we serve a bit everything. We have three major standards within our spring grinding manufacturing. So what is our solution? So the first one is the common one that everybody knows, is with the perforates, is with the holes. Why do we need these holes? We need to have these holes for a cool cut. And of course also for some stock removal that we can't absorb gets into the holes. After that, it's cleaned up with some compressed air. Now, the main thing today, the main challenge that we have in the spring and grinding industry is it's a resinoid product, and there's a fluoride in it. It's a general one. Now, it's coming from Scandinavia. There's this new target to have wheels without fluoride. So we're working on this because we know Scandinavia starts and then it goes slowly to the south. And when it's come in Germany, it becomes a rule. So we're like, okay, we're discovering, we have the development in the Scandinavian with some partners of these fluoride-free resin wheels. This is a really hot topic. And because in the SEAM, in the values of our company, one of the highest priorities. So mainly, the big point is the filler, as you heard, the fluoride. That makes it like, how good are you? How good can you perform? And it's exactly that filler is under a big challenge. Of course, the grains, we have a selection of grains and our bonding system. For this is a standard wheel. Coming to the next one, it's getting a bit more technical. This is a wheel without a hole. This is a wheel without the bores that you see. It's just, as you see here, we got it's a two-layer wheel. Why do you need a two-layer wheel? Because, first of all, it's the same bonding system with this slightly different that we put a lot of porosity with a hollow bowl porosity. It's an artificial porosity that we add to have the cool cut, like you have seen before with the holes. We add here porosity. And why we do need these two layers? One layer would be sufficient. Now we found out at Weiler, if you see, it's very simple. In fact, you need to know it. But if you look deeper, the outside, if you have 100% of your speed, the more you go inside, the lower the speed is. That influence, of course, the parameters, that influence, of course, your performance, but it influences extremely high your roughness. Could go to burning marks. And that's why we have these two layers. Outer, we go with a rough grinding wheel. Inner, we go finer, softer. So to have a good, cool cut. And that's where we already have a first step, like we're not only delivering a wheel, we also have added value on this one. And then last but not least, we've got the ice spring. It's okay, it's a word, but the key point of the ice spring is the bonding system. It's a liquid bond. It's an innovation from our company. It's a liquid bond, and we surround well the grain, and we add a lot of porosity. And the big advantage that we have is that we can cover up all the diameters of the springs, having a high performance, no holes, so that means a lot of grains are working, and we have this cool cut. This active filler, of course, is internal components, but also here we are under a high pressure of this fluoride, because this is the key that everybody knew or everybody uses, and that's for us now the challenge. We're the pioneer in this. We can say that. We are the pioneer in this, and that makes us like the high-end customers that are looking for solutions, but not only a price, but also who are sustainable. And as a matter of fact, the Scandinavian are in the first line, directly followed by Germany. Of course, we got from all these wheels that we have from the small parts 150 up to 1,000. We can make everything with the nuts and with the holes. And the form 35, 36. The 35 is the one that we glue on a plate. The 36 is the one that we, with screws, we fix up on the plate. So we have different, this is a challenge because a spring is a spring, but it's not a spring because you have different diameters. You have a small diameter for the pharmaceutical industry, for high precisions, for even the watch industry. Going up to the big ones, 23 millimeters for the trains, for the big machines, and all that needs to be covered up. Of course, different diameters, different machines. For the small springs, the really below 1 millimeter, we go with a very fine grit just to have a fine surface. And of course, we cannot work with the holes because these small springs that will block up, right? So we say up 10 millimeter, we can work with the holes. Otherwise, we need to go to our innovative products like the ice spring. We're going, the bigger the diameter, that's the rule, the bigger the diameter of your spring, the rougher the grain. The more stock removal you have, so you need to have grains that can cope with this. So we go from the grit size 20 up to the 60, sometimes up to the 120. There is a new trend in the 1 millimeter and the very fine springs going to the super abrasives to have this high volume, high performance, but also the high precision. Now, these are the machines, mainly the Dorn, the Kamatech, the Wafius, the OMD. There are several, but these are the big ones, the most common ones that we have in Europe. Of course, not only the wheel is important, but also how you dress it is made through the production process. By grinding the springs, you make the wheel unflat. There are some waves in it. You need to flatten it up. Now, a lot of these customers of ours are working with HSS material to flatten it up. We developed a dresser with a metal bond with diamonds to have a smooth surface. So we're gonna dress it with a diamond to have a flat and smooth surface. Otherwise, we found out that we rip off the grain instead of cutting it. And that makes a difference, a big difference when you're in the fine grinding. And the advantage is this wheel or this dresser, this lasts for very, very long time. It's reusable because you can turn it. That makes it for us easy that we can sell it as a system, not only as a product, but as a performance dresser and the grinding wheel. So why would you choose us? Of course, because of our technology, because we try to have a long partnership, a long relation. We think this is important because trends in the markets are changing. You need to inform the customer, or the customer needs to inform you where the company goes to. What directions do you want to go? Do you want to go more into the precision or the pharmacy industry, or you want to go to the more roughing? We need to know, we need to understand. We're going like, it's not a one direction communication, it's a dialogue. Of course, the service is very important when there is a fire that we can react. Now we have this, the Weiler process solution, which is listen to the customer. Of course, we go into the technical details, and we will have a case study afterwards, but I want to avoid to get into the deep technical ones because every machine, every customer is different because of these parameters. Now, what's important for us is we go to the different questionnaires that is necessary from the material to the machine to the end part, the tolerances, the roughness. What do we have? We can do it over the internet, of course. We can do it by Teams, but sometimes you see the state of the machine and then you think, oh, we need to have some other discussions first before we start. So this is important that we have good trained people. And sorry to say, in school, we don't learn a lot about grinding. So we have our own academy in our company to educate and to train the people to look at. So which means definitely, of course, also with us in the production, that they can see, feel, and smell what's the difference in our different products. So having this, having a target, what is the target? Do you want to have a cut, a long, do we need to increase our performance? Do we need to reduce the roughness? What is the target? So it's always a dialogue with the customer. And then internally, it's not always one person that decides what we're going to do. It's the team. We discuss it. We make a specification. And then, of course, we're going to implement it. We try to deliver this added solution to the customer. And then discuss it. Before we launch it, we discuss it. Why? Because we have our ideas, and sometimes it comes up that customers are saying, hey, wait a minute, I need to go back because that was how I see it. So have an adjustment with the customer and then do the next step. It's really important that dialogue one to another. The unidirectional is over, right? So now I need to look and take my paper because this is just a success story with the ice spring. The challenge is always the same. They want to do everything with one machine, everything. And yeah, if I listen to the dreams of our customers, they don't want to grind. It's just a necessity to achieve their production or their tolerances. So the big challenge is always the material. They want to do carbon steel and stainless on the same machine and with the same performance and one wheel. And that makes it all the time as a challenge. Because the ice spring, as you can see, this is just the name. Behind that, there's a variety of different grains, bonds, hardnesses. Well, the bond is still the same, sorry, the hardness and the porosity. And on this, in this case, it's a 450 by 80 by 100. This is a standard wheel. And we find it out with our ice spring, grid size 24 and this B20. That's the key for us. It's the bond. That's what our chemical engineers are putting together. And it find out, I mean, we had, sorry, I'm getting a bit old. I need to put my glasses on. Now, we had the advantage is that in number of springs, because that always talks, right? We had 98,000 springs that we grind, and before we had a 68,000 springs that we grind with one wheel. So we lifted up from 68,000 to 98,000 with one wheel. And that was for our customers was like, wow, this wow effect, like for the same price I get this performance. On top of that, we reduced the dressing cycles. Instead of 4 times dressing during the process, we dressed, instead of 8 times, we dressed 4 times. So we reduced the dressing cycles by 2. And dressing is just getting rid of grains and making it flat for nothing. So the less you dress, the more sustainable grains you have, the more bond, the more products you can make. So one is related to the other. And on the cycle time, that was also interesting. We reduced this from 2 minutes to 1 minute 30 as a cycle time. And that's why, well, that's not much. But if you count it on the pieces of the whole wheel, that was a huge saving. So not only that makes it like we go faster, but also we have a longer lifetime of the wheel. And that makes it for this customer was very happy. And that's the message that we want to bring over through the fair, to our customers, to the social media, if you want, that we can, there's a new kid on the block. And we're growing in our markets, and you will hear from us soon more. So thank you for being here and attending this short introduction on our company and our spring grinding.
Sensational, Konrad. Excellent last presentation on stage. But if you don't mind, I still have a few questions.
Yes, please.
But before, any questions from your side? You're a colleague, so it's okay. So what was really surprising for me at the very end, you mentioned the use case, okay? And I was asking myself the whole time about how many springs we are talking, so that a business of grinding wheels, especially for springs, is worth doing it. Yeah. So you mentioned you came down from 98,000 to 68. No, other way around. That you can do more with one single grinding wheel. So I imagine now, how much is a grinding wheel, like the ice one in average? How much is it?
I can give you a good price, but let me say, no, in average you need
to count, the selling price.
The 450 you need to count like that's about 400 to 500 euros.
Okay, let's take 400 to 500 euros. So you save this coming from 68 to 98, however, roughly 100,000 springs being grinded.
With one wheel.
With one wheel,
And
you are selling, I guess, a few thousands of them, because otherwise you can't have so many plants. So how many springs are grinded with your solutions? And you probably have a competition as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, lucky we have competition. That makes us, that we need to move all the time. And okay, it's a small world after all. We've seen this here in the fair, that we know each other. We have, but to answer your question, the spring grinding market, that's a billion pieces of springs, variety from small ones to big ones. So it is a huge market. And now to define how much, we're still searching.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Next question. How important? I mean, you do the grinding, and I was thinking, especially on the bigger springs, can you say that coming from a bigger spring to a smaller spring, the smaller spring has a higher quality necessity than the bigger one? Is that correct?
Yes, it
I
is.
imagine in a train, because I'm working with a German railway company. So the big spring, it doesn't matter that much whether it's perfectly grinded, right? I mean, but if you have a watch or a medical device, then it would need to be perfectly smooth, right?
It is
And
excellent.
this is where the volume comes from, right? Because I can imagine how many the train springs will be less than the other one.
Yeah, but the thing is also the stock removal that you do on a train spring is much, much higher than a one on
True.
a small
True.
one.
Yeah.
So the use of these kind of wheels is very high because they need to have a lot of stock removal to get this 25 mil, 30 mil diameter to grind it up to the last dimension. Tolerances are higher, but in some cases, it's burning marks, very important. The roughness still is. The surface, sometimes they don't measure, they need to have a surface. It's a
Okay.
requirement of a customer. So, yes, you're right.
So you mentioned you're the new kid on the block. One question that remained was, are you just doing the grinding wheels for the spring industry, or are you doing other grinding wheels as well?
So basically, we do the whole portfolio,
Yeah.
but we want to focus. If
which-
we want to
which is good.
grow,
Yeah.
if we want to grow, you need to focus.
Yeah.
There's no use running around all the rabbits.
Yeah.
Focus yourself on one elephant, and you will, and then the next, and that's within the strategy of the company. Focus on the market. So this is one this we have. We have also our focus on gears. We have focus on roller grinding for the metal industry, and and there you need to stop, and then to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was coming back to you slightly mentioned the history of the company and New Kid on the Block. Funny enough that you are basically have connection to Pforzheim in Germany, which is really funny. So how did you how did you come to the idea of focusing on these grinding of springs? What was the basic
That's out of the history. So if I mean, Weiler company bought the Swatikomet in Slovenia, and then of course you ask, where are your strengths?
yeah
And that was already one of the strengths out of the past, within a lot of strengths. But then how can we move it up? And that was a decision within the team to decide, like, we're really good in it, let us be better.
yeah
And that's what made it out like, we're gonna attack the spring market.
So sorry for asking all the generic
Oh,
questions,
no.
but it's super interesting to see it. And I mean, you presented yourself as a new kid, so I wanted to get deeper into that. Thank you so much, Konrad, for being our last host or last presenter for this forum. It was an excellent presentation. I wish you a lot of success for the rest of the day and for the next upcoming years. Have a lot
Yeah.
of
Well,
fun
thank
with
you,
it.
and also for the fair to having us giving this small promotion or small introduction on the company, and of course on our specialty. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Konrad. Pleasure to having you. Yeah.